Hi everybody! It's time to fire up your glue gun today, 'cause it's Make It Monday. That is right, we are back for another craft. I am your host for this one. I am Holly. I'm the lead librarian for the North Muskegon Library, and thank you for joining us today. I was trying to think of a craft that most people have this stuff around their house, and I came up with what can I do with old pants? So I am going to show you today how to turn your old jeans into this denim bouquet. To get started, I will walk you through everything that we need. First, of course, old pants. Probably a couple pairs of old pants if you want to do different colors on your flowers. You're going to need some kind of vase. You can use an old vase around your house. I got this one at Dollar Tree for $1. Any kind of mason jar or maybe some kind of old cup that you don't want anymore would work. You're also going to need something to measure with. You're going to need a couple of sheets of book pages. If you want to do the book flowers, you can do all denim if you want to. Of course, you're going to need a glue gun because everything we do with a glue gun. You're also going to need some kind of wire. You can do floral wire, garden wire, jewelry wire. You can cut up a coat hanger if that works. Just anything that's stiff that can hold up your paper and your denim. You're also going to need, if you want to, this is optional, a piece of twine so you can do the little bow that's in the front on mine. And also optional if you want to do the pearls that go inside the denim flowers. There's those. And you're going to need some kind of ribbon. I got this one also at Dollar Tree for $1. Pretty much everything I got here, I got from Dollar Tree. One more thing you're going to need if you're doing the paper flowers is something that you can roll them on. You can use this as a skewer from the kitchen. You can also take a Q-tip and roll on that. All right, so that is everything we're going to need. Now, let's get started. We're going to start with the easiest step of the whole process. And some of this is going to take just a little bit of time to do. It is not hard. I'm actually going to show you multiple ways to do these flowers. One's a little bit more advanced way, and one's just kind of one you can do freehand and then glue. So you're going to want to take your pair of pants. This is an old pair of mine. I also stole a pair of my husband's old work pants. I'm sure he's going to be thrilled when he finds out. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your vase and put it inside that pant leg. This is why I'm getting rid of these ones, because they're super tight on the bottom. Okay, so once you get it in there, you're going to want to go so it's the pants sit just above the lip, and then you're going to want to go about 2 inches down from where the vase rests at the bottom, and you're going to want to cut there. You can give yourself a little bit more than that if you want. Does not have to be perfect. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm probably going to use this denim again. And what you're going to want to do is take your vase out, and we're going to have to make the actual pocket. Now, how I did this for that one, because I thought it looked better, was I went and I kind of tucked in the sides, kind of like you're wrapping a present, and you're tucking in the sides. And then once you have that like that, you're going to want to take your glue gun and run some glue along the bottom of one of those edges, just like that. And then you're going to just fold it over so it seals that bottom. Hold it for a couple seconds so it seals it in there. Get the glue off my fingers here. Now you'll notice when I did it, there's a little bit of denim sticking out. You can always take your glue gun and glue that more firmly into place. I'm going to put a little dot here to do that. And fold that over just a little bit more. That's why it doesn't really matter if when you're cutting the pants at the bottom that you have a little bit of a raggedy edge, because when you fold it, it's going to cover it right up. So you're going to end up where it's sealed at the bottom now. I'm going to pull all these glue strings off because I got a whole bunch of them. And on my fingers. And then, once you have your pocket, you're going to want to slip your vase back in there. And you'll see mine leaves a little bit on the top, and that's why I like to fold that down. So what you're looking to do here, and it stands up perfectly fine, what you're looking to do is you don't want the vase sticking out of the top. You want the pants to rest just above the lip of the vase. Our next step is to do the decorative ribbon around it. And I just kind of wrap it around there. See how much I need. I cut just a little bit more than what I need. So for mine, I ended up with a piece about this big. And then you're going to go ahead and take your glue gun. I'm actually going to clean up that edge because that got a little bit crooked when I cut it off. And then you're going to take your glue gun and feel where your vase is. You're going to want to go probably about an inch below where your vase starts, where you can feel it start on the inside. And you're just going to glue that ribbon right down to your pants pocket here that you made. And as you're doing it, you're going to want to every once in a while take your glue gun, do a couple of dots on your ribbon so it sticks and it's not just flopping there. Make sure you're pulling it a little bit tight so when you get around to the other side, your back side's not flopping around. And you're going to keep going. I'm going to put another couple dots of glue and pull it tight so it sticks on there. Might have to push it down where the glue is. Oh, I found glue on my finger. And do it one more time on here. Pull it tight. Make sure once you get around the other side that your ribbon is pretty much matching up with where you started. I left that little lip there. I'm going to cut that off just a little bit. And then I'm going to glue that final piece down so it lines up right with where I started. And there we have that piece. Now, if you want to, a little bit more glue right here. You can take your pant leg and fold it down so it meets that edge. You don't really have to, but you can if you want. On this one, I do have mine so it slightly hangs over the edge of the ribbon. Whatever you think looks better. These pants are a little tighter on the top. So there we have our vase that the flowers are going to go into. So I'm going to set that aside for now. And I'm going to go to our next step, which is the flowers. Now, as I mentioned, there's several different ways you can do it. I'm going to start with probably the easiest way. First, we're going to have to cut open our pants. So I have some left on this one. I'm actually going to use the other pair so I can show you how I did the whole pant leg. So I'm going to take your husband's pants here that hopefully he's not going to miss. And I'm going to cut it off right below where he's got the stains starting on here because we don't want our flowers all stained. That does not look good at all. I just cut that right across there. So I've got one pant leg chopped off. And then what I do is I cut along that hard seam to open it up. And I'm also going to cut off the bottoms of these pants because he's got a little bit of dirt down there too. So it opens it right up so you have plenty of material to work with. Now, the easy way to do the flowers is a way that you can do it freehand, and I'll show you what the pattern looks like. Let me grab it from behind me here. Okay, so our first way to do the flowers is you're going to do a shape like this, and you're going to do it in 3 different sizes. So what you're wanting is a shape, and I'll let you see the bottom of it too. It looks like a tooth. It looks like a molar, an upside down molar. So you're going to want 5 of these. You're going to want to trace 5 or freehand 5 of these on here that are about 1 inch. And then you're going to want to do 5 that are 2 inches. And then you're going to want to do 9 of them that are 3 inches. So the easiest way that I did that, and my pen is stuck up under here, is I just took my ruler and I measured it out 1 inch and pull this on here just a little bit. Okay, it's covering my glue gun, it's low heat. And I measured 1 inch and I put a mark on the top and a mark on the bottom so I know where to start. And then I just freehanded that shape on there. And don't worry if you make it more of a little heart shape on the top. You can fix that as you're cutting it out, or you can fix it before you cut it out. So let me give you an up close of what I did there. I am going to trace it in blue so you can see better what I did. So it's upside down molar shape, up close. This is what it looks like for doing the inch ones. So you're going to do 5 of those, just like that. And it's pretty easy. Once you've drawn the first one on, you just move over and follow the shape. Draw your next one. And they do not have to be precise. You want it about that size. It does not have to be perfect. That's what I like about some of these projects is it doesn't have to be spot on. Close as you can get it is fine. So there's my 3rd one. Over. 4th one. Okay, so I've got my 5 there. Then I'm going to take my ruler, move it up to 2 inches, and make my mark so I know how big the 2 inches have to be. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, only I'm going to make them 2 inches instead of 1 inch. And you're going to do 5 of these. There's 1, 2, 7. Doesn't have to be perfect. 3, 4, 5. And your last step is going to be the last step for drawing them on. You're going to take the ruler, do the same thing you did everywhere else. Mark it so you know where 3 inches is. So that's about that big. And then you're going to make 9 of those. Two, 3. This is the part that's kind of time consuming, but it's easy. It just takes time. Five. 6. 7. Go up top. So let me measure up here. 8. And 9. Okay. So when you're all done tracing on there, you're going to get a whole thing of denim that looks like upside down molars. Now your next step is to cut all those out. Okay, so we got all our pieces cut out. Next step, grab your wire and fold it so you get about the length you want your stem. That depends on the length of your base. I've got about maybe a foot of wire there. And you're going to start with your small ones. And put some more glue in here. I'm going to move this too. Okay, so you're going to take your pieces and you're going to put a little bit of glue on each of the sides there, just like that, if you can see that. And you're just going to take it and you're going to wrap it around your piece of wire. So your first piece is just like that, wrapped around the wire. Take your next small piece, do the same thing. That glue stick does not want to stay in my glue gun. And you're going to put glue down each side. You're going to take it. You're going to want to look for where your last seam stopped before you add your next one. So line it right up with where that last seam stopped and just wrap it around. And you just keep going. You take your next small piece, glue down each side. Find where your seam stopped. Line your next piece up with that. Just press it on there. Take your next one. Glue down each side. Find where that last seam stopped. Press it on. glue strings off my fingers. We take our last small piece, do the exact same thing, glue down each side. Not all the way up to the top, probably about 3/4 of the way. Find where your last seam stopped, which is right here. Press it on. When you're done with your small pieces, you start doing the exact same thing with the next size up. Find where that seam stopped. Press it on. Why do I think this is the easier method? Because you can freehand these petals. The other ones you actually need a pattern for. And you can see, as you start adding more petals, it starts to take the rose shape. So we do the next one. My last medium piece down there. Now I'm onto my large pieces. Same exact thing. I want to go about 3/4 of the way up on each side. Take it, find where your last seam stopped, and press your petal on. And the reason you're finding where the seam stopped and then putting it on is so you don't have your petals all piling up on the same exact area. So if you just follow where your last one stopped and put the next one right on next to it, then it has a more uniform shape to it. Okay, and then we'll take the next one, put it on. And don't worry if you have a little glob of glue here and there, you can just peel it right off. Next one. And unlike mine, if you're just using regular ink to trace yours, I did mine in the dark blue so you would be able to see on camera what they look like. So you'll be able to see some of the marker marks on mine. If you just do yours in regular ink, you won't be able to see that on yours. So I recommend when you're doing your own that you use just a regular ink pen. It does not look bad with the blue, but I think it looks better without. See that one. And then you can start like folding it down so it takes more of the rose shape. See, it does not look bad like that, but personal preference, I prefer it without it. And that's when you start to notice when you're doing it, which sides are fuller and which sides need more petals. So that's why I do 9. The original pattern I found called for 5 of each size, but I found that it didn't look as full that way. I didn't like it nearly as much. So I did mine with 9, and it looked a lot better. So we're almost done with our first rows. Get some more. Find that seam. And here. And I'm going to put one more right on this side, our last one. So lots of cutting, a lot of gluing, but not really anything that's too difficult. Put this one right here. Bend your petals back. Also, you can kind of trim too if you don't think it looks quite right. I've got a little bit of a piece that's hanging off over here, so I'm going to trim that down a little bit. Okay, that is what your rose is going to look like using that method. Now, I'm going to set that aside because we're going to put it in our vase later. Actually, I can just pop it in there for now. We'll arrange it when we're done. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my piece of denim. As I said, the next one does require a pattern. And the good thing is, Karen has graciously put the link to that pattern in the comments for you. So you can, if you have a way to print it home, you can print it and cut it out following the directions. And you'll end up with 7 pieces that you'll have to trace to make the flower using the pattern. So I'm going to cut some of this extra off here. It's not going to use it. Cut all these hard edges off because we don't want those in our flowers. So if you have a printer at home, you can do the flowers either way. If you don't have a printer at home, you can just do the freehand method that I just showed you. Either way, your flowers will end up looking gorgeous. So once you've cut that pattern out that is in our comments section, you're going to end up with 7 pieces. And really what it is a flower, and it's a flower shape, and each subsequent one is missing another petal. So that first one's missing 1 petal, this one's missing 2. Actually, this is the next one down. That's missing 2, this one's missing 3. This is when you get to it, it's missing 4. And then your next one down only has 3 petals. And then this one, and I'm missing the last piece. Turn around and find that. Okay, and your last piece is just 1 petal. So that's what the pattern should look like once you get it all cut out. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your pen and you're going to trace all these pieces onto your denim. Darkening any pieces you're having trouble seeing. Okay, so when you get it all traced, let me see if I can get that up close so you can see what my trace looks like. Okay, then you're going to cut all those out, all 7 pieces. 7 pieces. We're going to start with our biggest one. What you're going to do is you're going to take your glue gun, and this part right here that's on the right side, you're just going to run a line of glue on that seam, and you're going to overlap it so it makes a cone shape, just like this. And you're going to do that with all these pieces. They have glue right there. Overlap those petals so it makes a cone flower shape, just like that. That, fold it up. Flower shape. Take your next one. So you're just overlapping those petals enough so it makes that cone shape on every single one of these. Some glue right there. And that last one, you're just going to roll it. There we go. This one, you're probably going to want to take and cut that edge off the bottom. Okay, so we've got them all glued, all 7 pieces. Next, take your wire, get yourself a piece depending on how big your vase is. So I've got another piece about the length of the one I started with there. One thing you're going to want to make sure of before you start this is that there's a tiny hole in the bottom of each of these. Just big enough to fit that wire through is all you need. Just make sure you check real quick before you start. Okay, so you take your wire, take your biggest piece, poke it through the bottom. You're going to want to have it upside down, just like that. You're going to take your glue gun and put a nice big generous blob of glue right on the bottom, just like that. You're kind of going to push the flower into it. It's going to take a second before that glue sits, so just chill out for a second and wait for it to dry. Maybe grab all the glue strings off while you're waiting. And you're going to want about, I would say, an inch of wire hanging out the other side. So you see in there, I've got wire that's still hanging out. So I'm going to sit here and just wait for it to dry. Takes a second on fabric for glue gun glue to dry it. So when it's stable enough where it's not wobbling all over the place, when you take your hand away and flip it over, what you're going to do, take your glue gun again, put a dot of glue right on the bottom of that wire inside your flower, take your next biggest piece and slide it on down that wire. And so you don't burn yourself, push from the inside of the petal that you're working with. And you're going to want to kind of make sure your petals aren't all facing the exact same way. Just kind of give it a quarter turn. So they're not all right on top of each other. Keep going. Take your glue gun. Put another dot of glue on the inside of that flower. Take your next biggest piece and slide it right down the wire. Take your fingers, put it in there, press it on. You can straighten the wire out if it makes it a little easier for you. I know I have to do that occasionally. Take your next piece, dot of glue, slide it down the wire, push into the bottom. Next piece, dot of glue down there, push it down your wire again. And as you go, you'll see less and less of that wire hanging out. Take your next piece. Push it down in. And finally, we're at our last piece. So you take that final piece. You should only see a little tiny bit of that wire poking out. And take that, push it in. Get all this glue strings off there. And once you're done, you can kind of straighten it out. That is what your rose looks like using that method. And like I said, you can take that wire and kind of straighten it out. So that's two different ways that you can make your roses. You can either do the method with the upside down molar or the thing that looks like the chef's hat, or you can use the pattern and you can make them that way. For the whole project, when I finish, it always depends on the size of the vase you're using. Because mine was larger, I had to make more flowers. If it's smaller, you can make less flowers. Okay, so you're probably wondering, oh my goodness, we haven't even started the paper flowers yet. The good news is the paper flowers use that exact same 7-piece pattern that you just did for that last flower. So you put it on the paper, trace it all, end up with 7 pieces of paper. There's only one additional step to using this method, and that is because you want that nice curl that goes on the paper. This is why you have the skewer. You're going to take the skewer and you're going to roll those petals on them before you glue everything together. So I'm going to do that real quick. And like I said, you can use a skewer, you can use a Q-tip, you can use anything. Probably a pencil's too fat. You don't want to use a pencil. It's too large. But anything that's like a smaller rod shape, you can use it. Circular shape, you can use it to roll your petals around. And that last petal, you're just going to want to curl it all the way around. Then once you've got all the curling done, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did to the flower on the paper. You're going to put a dab of glue on that right seam, and you're going to fold it so they overlap and make that cone shape. Just like that. And you're going to do that 7 times, just like you did. Oh, I lost a piece. Now, the only thing you have to watch out for when you're gluing these is you want those petals, the petal shapes need to curl down. So make sure when you're gluing you're going the way where the petals curl down instead of folding it the wrong way, because then they'll curl inward. So make sure you're paying attention to that as you're gluing. Otherwise, all your flowers will be backwards. And this one, you're just going to want to put a dab of glue on there since you rolled it. Also, make sure the book you're using doesn't have a lot of naughty words in it. I had to learn that the hard way when I made a book wreath out of a Nelson B. DeMille book. Okay, so same thing as last time. Once you get them all glued, flip them over, make sure there's a tiny hole in the bottom so you can get your wire through there. And we're going to take another piece of wire. And don't worry if your wire measurement's a little bit off. You can always cut some off the bottom if it's hanging out of the base too far. There. Exact same thing that you did with the denim flower. You start with your largest piece. Put it on upside down. Straighten out. Leave about an inch on the other side of wire. And you're going to put it in glue. Big, generous blob of glue right on the bottom. Glue string off, and then wait a second for it to dry. And then you do the exact same thing you did with the other one. You take your escape glue stick again. Put a blob of glue right at the bottom of that wire. Take your next biggest one and set it right in that glue. Make sure your pages are offset. Take your next biggest size, which is this one. Slide it down that wire. So you can always adjust the wire if it's like stuck to one side of your flower. And you keep going until you have layered all 7 pieces on there. A lot of glue. And put your next one on. And a lot of glue. And put your next one up. And another blob of glue in there. Just slide your next one down that wire. And it gets a little bit more difficult as you're going on to get that glue down in there, but that's okay because the paper slides it down the wire for you. So you take your last piece, make sure it's the smooth edge and not the triangular edge, and push it down in the middle. Get all your glue strings off, and you end up with your book paper rose. So you keep going until you have enough flowers for your vase, and I'm going to use Library Magic. So when you get all your flowers made, with your Library Magic or without, with blood, sweat, and tears if you have to go the long route. Then you start putting it in there. Just kind of play around with it until it looks good to you. Then your final step, if you want to do it, there's actually 2 steps left. If you want to, it's not required. I think it looks nice, so I did it here. I've got 3 denim flowers. So I'm going to squeeze out 3 of these pearls. And I'm just going to stick a dot of glue on them. And I'm going to put them right in the middle of my denim flower. Twist it around. So it kind of accents them a little. You can also use any kind of bead, really. I like the pearl ones. One more. Twist that around. Pop that in there. Okay, final step, piece of twine. Kind of make your bow with it. And when I did mine, after I got done making the bow, I wrapped that piece around the top and then did another knot towards the bottom, because that way the ends will all face the same way instead of being flung off into the wilderness here. And just kind of take your bow once it's done with a dot of glue on there. Pop it right on there. And you can trim those if you want to. So they're both the same length. I did not do that, but I can do that. I'll trim them up so they don't hang so far. Your very last step is to get all of those glue strings off, and then you are done. One thing I forgot to mention, you can see some color around these roses on the top. The only thing you have to do to get that color is just trace your roses in marker and then cut around the color when you're cutting it out. So that is it. It's a lot of cutting. It's a lot of tracing. It's a lot of cutting, but it's super simple to make something really cute out of jeans that you were probably going to give to Goodwill or throw out anyway. If you missed our crafts that we had previously, you can find them on our Facebook page. You can also find them on our Maddle YouTube channel. It's Muskegon Area District Library YouTube channel. I recommend you subscribe to that. You can get all of our previous programs that we have produced on our YouTube channel, including our craft programs, which we did last month, last month was the Canning Jar Pumpkin, and the month before that was the Book Birdcage. So you can find the videos for those on our YouTube page. If you are looking for more events that are coming to Maddle, and we do have a lot of those because we are doing our best to keep you entertained while you can't go out and do normal things because of the coronavirus, you can check out our calendar at www.madl.org, and you just go and you click on our calendar and it will have all of our events. We have story times going on. We have ancestry stuff going on. We have programs coming up with presenters. Our newest newsletter should be out soon, so be looking for that. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next month. We are making gnomes out of things that you can find in the dollar store. I will teach you how to make a gnome for less than $5. Thank you, and I will see you next month.